reminder here in Fiji that other advisories also have been issued in regards to the weather. The Fiji Met Service has issued flood warnings throughout parts of Fiji, in particular low coastal areas. They have advised locals to please be aware of local rivers rising and to keep away from any surfaces that look very deep. They've also advised locals to listen to the local broadcasts there and to keep up to date with the latest information. You're listening here to RNZ Pacific. We now take you back to New Zealand's domestic service, RNZ National.
RNZ News at 10 o'clock. Good evening, I'm Mark Leishman. Jacinda Ardern has announced she will not contest the upcoming election and will instead step down as Prime Minister no later than February the 7th. The Labour leader dropped the bombshell at the first day of her party's retreat in Napier, saying she no longer has enough in the tank. Here's our Deputy Political Editor, Craig McCulloch.
In an emotional address, Jacinda Ardern declared she no longer had the energy required for the task ahead.
I'm not leaving because it was hard. Had that been the case, I probably would have departed 2 months into the job. I am leaving because with such a privileged role comes responsibility. I know what this job takes, and I know that I no longer have enough in the tank to do it justice.
Her departure leaves Labour rudderless and turns the election on its head, with the caucus now needing to select a new leader. MPs will meet on Sunday to vote, with candidates requiring 2/3 support. In another surprise, Deputy Grant Robertson has ruled out stepping into the void. Potential contenders then include Chris Hipkins and Michael Wood, neither of whom ruled out a tilt today.
In the Auckland CBD this afternoon, an emotional Tessa Williams from Purpore says she understands why Ms Ardern resigned.
She's put up with a lot of really tough stuff. And yeah, I mean, I was surprised that she hung in kind of as long as she did. It's pretty rough how she's been treated. It was so hard for her, I think. She did a really good job. And yeah, sad that people were so mean to her.
These farmers from the South Island were pleased by the shock resignation. Over the moon.
Absolutely over the moon.
Can you explain? Farmers from down south?
I mean, yeah, she's just made it unbearable to be a farmer. It's, yeah, it's good news, yes. She's been on a great day.
Former Prime Minister Helen Clark says Jacinda Ardern has done an extraordinary job leading New Zealand through major crisis. Ms Clark says she was deeply sad when she woke up in Europe this morning to hear that Ms Ardern had stepped down. She says the outgoing Prime Minister delivered on a large social policy agenda, presided over an economy which has performed better than most, and positioned New Zealand as a country which stands for international cooperation and decent values. Helen Clark says Prime Ministers face great pressure in an era of social media and 24/7 media cycles, and Ms Ardern has faced a level of hatred and vitriol which is unprecedented in New Zealand. Political academic Richard Shaw of Massey University says the Prime Minister has been subject to increasingly violent and abusive rhetoric over the past 2 years.
The tank is empty. So, and one of the reasons why it's empty is because she, more than any other Prime Minister in the post-war era, this one has faced significant crises. So when she talks about having to make hard decisions, she speaks from a place of considerable experience. But what has been particular about some of those crises has been the human cost. So she's expended a lot of personal and emotional capital, I think.
Professor Shaw says the level of vitriol aimed against Ms Ardern, including a celebratory reaction online today, no doubt took its toll. National leader Christopher Luxon says he isn't worried about who will replace Jacinda Ardern. The opposition leader thanks the Prime Minister for her service in what he says is a difficult and demanding job. But Mr Luxon says he's confident that National can beat whoever replaces her as party leader.
Well, look, it doesn't really worry me because ultimately I see a team there that actually cannot get things done. And, the reality is, when you look across this government and a series of portfolios and you look at the set of ministers, the same problem exists. They're unable to actually convert and be able to get things done.
Christopher Luxon gave particular acknowledgement to Ms Ardern's handling of the Christchurch terror attacks. In other news, food prices have risen at their fastest annual rate in more than 3 decades. Stats New Zealand says food prices rose 11.3% in December over the year earlier. Here's business reporter Nona Peltier.
Food prices have recorded the biggest annual increase since April 1990, when food prices rose 11.4%. Fruit and vegetable prices rose 23% over the year and are the biggest contributor to December's monthly increase, with big prices for tomatoes, kiwi fruit, and potatoes. Groceries, which are the biggest contributor to the annual increase, rose 11%. Meat, fish, and poultry also rose 11%, while non-alcoholic beverages rose more than 7%, and restaurant meals and ready-to-eat foods rose nearly 8%.
Property prices have dropped for a second year in a row, according to statistics released by TradeMe. In December, the average asking price fell to $897,900, a drop of over $58,000 compared to the same time the previous year. Wellington saw the largest decline, with prices falling by 9% in the last 2 months of 2022. However, prices in every region of the South Island continued to rise. National has shuffled its team for election year with a number of small changes to its lineup. Christopher Luxon made the announcement of his 2023 team at National's caucus retreat in Napier. Our political reporter, Giles Dexter, was there.
In what he labels a limited reshuffle, Christopher Luxon says his team will be a mixture of experience and emerging talent. Former leader Todd Muller has made his way into Luxon's top 20, picking up the agriculture portfolio full-time and taking climate change off Scott Simpson, who falls from 11th to 19th. Mr. Luxon has given another former leader, Judith Collins, a big promotion, moving her from 17th to 10th, and also creating 2 new roles for her: foreign direct investment and digitising government. Barbara Kuriger has fallen from 10th to not even ranked, but has been given conservation. National's newest MP, Tama Potaka, has already been put to work, picking up the Māori development and associate housing roles.
Meanwhile, National has declared it raised more than $2 million from big donors last year, compared to Labour's taking of just $150,000. 3 people gifted National $250,000 each. One of them, the country's richest man, Graham Hart. All donations over $30,000 had to be reported to the Electoral Commission and then published. These figures do not represent a complete picture, as smaller donations either don't have to be declared or will be at a later date. It's 7 minutes past 10. Police have charged a 42-year-old man with manslaughter over a fatal crash in Havelock North last year. They say the crash happened on St George's Road on July 4th. At the time, police reported that a 45-year-old Hastings man, Marco Migliaccio, died in the crash. Police say the accused appeared in Hastings District Court today on several related charges. And a wild kiwi egg has been laid in Wellington for the first time in more than a century. Last November, 11 North Island brown kiwi were released into the Markara Hills after an ambitious pest eradication project. The project leader, Capital's Kiwis Paul Stanley Ward, says they've been following weekly through transmitters on their legs. He says during a recent checkup, an egg was discovered.
So that is our first wild kiwi egg on those hills in a very, very long time. So for the team and also for the hundreds of landowners, the locals, the iwi mana whenua who have supported this project, it's some pretty sweet news for the new year.
Paul Stanley Ward says the last recorded kiwi in the region was in about the 1870s. And that's the news.
I'm Corin Dan, and along with Guy and Espiner, we're back for a morning report special from 6 a.m. We'll have in-depth